Where we are, we're at 300 metres, so we're up on a bit of a hill. The nearest Weather Bureau station is 25 k's away, and it's right in a maritime environment. There's no real connection to what's happening at our spot and what that nearest weather station is showing.
Welcome back to the Vegalogue podcast, a dialogue about the Australian vegetable industry from AUSVEG. I'm Tom Bicknell. In the aftermath of any weather event, if you talk to 5 growers in a given region, you'll get 6 different weather reports. General weather forecasts rarely provide the local accuracy needed to make crucial farming decisions. Recognising that shortcoming, however, is a new levy-funded project started earlier this year that applies AI to the task of hyperlocal weather forecasting. The project, using AI and machine learning to improve weather forecasting, is being delivered by Jane's Weather, a business founded by meteorologist Jane Bunn, who you may recognise as the weather forecaster and presenter at 7 News Melbourne. Jane and her colleague Josh Cross gave growers a rundown of how hyperlocal weather forecasting works and what it lets growers do in a recent webinar run by AUSVEG as part of the Building Biosecurity Capacity and Resilience project.
Hello everyone, my name is Jane Bunn. I am from Jane's Weather, founder and meteorologist. We also have Josh Cross on the call, who is a business development manager and client liaison to make sure that you get the most out of the platform that we are developing. What we're aiming to walk you through today is how you can use our precise and actionable weather insights to get the most out of what you're doing on your farm. So let's go through what we have here. We've got 2 farms that we have as an example within the weather data we're going to have a look at today. Josh, would you mind just briefly giving us a little bit of an idea about Sam and Ed and how they came to be and where they are?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Josh, Jane's Weather. We've used Sam's farm and Ed's farm for an example for this presentation. Sam and Claire's farm is about 2k away from the Richmond bomb station. So throughout...
just in the Western Sydney basin there.
Correct. Yep. And Ed's farm is just out in Cowra. So Ed's had a wild eye weather station installed. So this is an example of if you do have someone like AgLogic, weather station network or a weather station supplier install a weather station. Ed's farm has a weather station. Sam's farm is using an official weather station or a bomb weather station. So that's why we've used Sam's farm and Ed's farm as 2 different examples for this presentation.
Fantastic. So I'll keep this fairly New South Wales oriented today in terms of what weather is coming up. So you'll also get a bit of a weather forecast out of me. But we're going to sort of demonstrate how we can really help you out with rain, frost, spraying, irrigation, winds and growth, and many other metrics that we have here at Jane's Weather. It's all about making sure we can see what's happening on your farm in terms of having a weather station, so observations of what has happened, and then applying that to make it a hyper local forecast for your spot. So I'm going to start with just a bit of an idea of what our platform at Jane's Weather looks like. Here is our forecast page, which is generally where you will begin. And I've chosen Richmond, so you can see, so just in the Western Sydney basin there. On the left-hand side, we've got our summary for the week ahead. And if you click one of these here, you can get a bit more info. This is what we call our threat toolbox. It's kind of like all the things that you need to be potentially concerned about today, the things that can get you. And so what we are known for is making sure that you've got at-a-glance decision-making capability. So it's all color-coded if it's going to be a concern. So our temperature, it's all on a legend there, so you can quickly see what is likely to happen when a cool change is coming through and that sort of thing. What the winds are doing, so you can quickly see again if it gets up to breezy or strong or gale because the colour changes. Our spraying conditions, that's not just delta T, but it takes into account winds, it takes into account temperature inversions, temperature, rainfall, cloud cover, all of these things to give you a yes or no on whether you can spray. So that's where we find our summary detail and also our threat toolbox. But in the main part of the screen here, we've got our weather worm, but it's the weather graph, and it shows you hour by hour what's likely to happen. So here is what the cloud is doing. Again, this is for Richmond. We've got what the rainfall is doing down the bottom. There'll be a bit more exciting rainfall to show the days ahead, and also what the temperature and the weather icon is likely to be, plus our wind here. So this is an easterly wind, and it is light. I'll just pop that up so you can see the thing there. It is light to moderate winds today coming in from the east. So this is Richmond today. We're around here. If you look at the different spread of the weather model, so I've got our Pro toggle on. Here is our AI forecast, which is the summary of them all that has taken into account observations in the area to make it hyper-local. But if you expand this toggle out, you can see all of the different guidance that goes into making up that decision. Looking at the legend here, we've got models from Australia, Canada, USA, and Europe. These are global weather models. So they map every single part of the of Earth and then provide a forecast for that grid square. Now, in Richmond, this model here, which is the USA, that one has it being a lot hotter than what the other models have here today. So you can quickly see how varied the guidance can be. And the red line is our AI forecast that has learnt from observations on this particular site and has adapted the forecast accordingly. All right, so today, not a lot of wet weather, but we'll just jump into Thursday. So then this is when things get exciting. Dry all through the morning hours, in the afternoon and evening. We have the risk of thunderstorms, temperatures start to drop. We don't have strong winds. They continue to be quite light, but in the afternoon and evening, showers and thunderstorms are likely to be moving through the area. Sunny in the morning, cloudy in the afternoon. So that gives an idea. Now let's pop over to Cowra that I picked up there. This one is now just the other side of the Great Dividing Range, so in a very different weather situation. So here we have today, we've got a fair bit of cloud in through there. There's some very light and patchy rain to the south that isn't quite making up here. Only one of the weather models has that particular instance. It dries up in the morning, and then tomorrow we've got cooler conditions, but again, we're missing out on the rain. If you look at this summary here, there is pretty much nothing coming to this area over the next 10 days. So that gives you an idea of what weather is likely here just on that side of the ranges in comparison to Richmond. In the Western Sydney Basin, 10 millimetres is the average for tomorrow, and we've got 13 as the total. So there's some wet weather coming in here. I've also got Coffs Harbour. No, I don't have Coffs Harbour. Yes, I do. There it is. Coffs Harbour, which is also seeing a bit of a different pattern. 4 millimetres tomorrow, 12 the day after, a little bit more to follow in through here later in the weekend. So that's 29 millimetres as the forecast. Let's just unpack what all of that is doing. And here are our maps. So that was looking at a particular point. This one here is having a bit of a broader look at what is likely to happen. This is our AI forecast, and it is the total rain for the day. So here we have Wednesday that we're looking at there. So this is that light and patchy rain band that I've been talking about here. I'm just going to zoom in to the New South Wales area so that we can see that a bit tighter. Cowra missing out, and the Western Sydney Basin also missing out today. All of that activity is to the south. I'm going to jump forward. So here is during the day on Thursday. So the 24-hour period. Here we have Cowra is missing out on the other side of the ranges, the dry side for this particular example, whereas we've got a big weather system that is working its way up the coast there and also spreading to these inland parts. So that's why Coffs Harbour is getting it, all of these parts are getting it, Sydney is seeing it, but it dries up as it heads further west. So that's Thursday. Heading into Friday, it continues along the coast and moves out to sea. Again, nothing inland. Moving into Saturday, just a little bit in through here, nothing really in the Sydney area. Moving into Sunday, that's when the next weather system comes back. I'm just going to zoom out so we can see that one where it came from. So heading out to Australia again. This one here is Saturday. We've got a nice connection to tropical moisture up through here, spreading down into the south. So there's a trough that's running in through here that is creating that wet weather. But watch it jump. If you're after rain in the southeast, we're not really going to see it. So there's not a lot there, not a lot in through here. It reforms again as it moves into Queensland and that northeastern corner of New South Wales. So that's as we go through the day on Sunday, and then Monday it continues there too. So that's just a bit of an overguide of what is happening across the next week in terms of weather and how that is likely to impact these particular areas here. With that, I will also go into our seasonal outlook just to give you a quick indicator. So currently, here's that trough that's going to be moving into the northeast as we're going to tomorrow. Cold fronts are coming through. Our friends in Tasmania, do look out. We're looking at snow down to about 600 metres by Friday morning. So get those winter jackets back out once again. You'll want that for Thursday and Friday because these guys are coming through. Anyway, so that's what our pattern is. Here's the rainfall totals over the next 8 days. So most of it, southeast Queensland, northeast New South Wales, Western Sydney Basin getting it, but not over on the other side. Tasmania mainly plummeting into the west there and drying out as it heads further east. Some other things to have a look at is our sea surface temperature anomaly, how much warmer or cooler the top of the ocean is. Why do we care about this? Because it drives our moisture sources. In order to get rain, you've got to have two things working together. You've got to have tropical moisture and you have to have instability. So this can tell us how much tropical moisture we may have access to. And so this one here turning blue, that's us heading into La Nina. This one here with blue through much of that box, it's a negative Indian Ocean dipole. So that just tells us it's the La Nina of the Indian Ocean. When we have all this warm water around Northern Australia, that means we have better access to that tropical moisture that can fuel those weather systems. But you only see the rain if it actually moves through your spot. This only tells us about the moisture part of that equation. Heading into the Pacific Ocean Index. So we've been coming out of El Nino. We've been very slowly during the year dropping down. Here we are now as of Monday this week. We've got 2 weather models that cross that threshold into La Nina. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 weather models that go near the threshold. And here is a tip. The Australian Bureau has 0.8, so where that green line is as the official threshold. The Americans have it as 0.5. So you'll hear different guidance from them because 1, 2, 3, 4 weather models will be crossing their threshold. We have 2 weather models that don't like it, but they're just remaining very neutral. Nothing likes taking that moisture away from us from the Pacific Ocean. There's nothing up here in the dry zone. So it's all heading in this direction. It's either a La Nina if we cross that threshold, or it's very close to, which encourages that moisture to come to us anyway. Having a look at the Indian Ocean Index, so that's the IOD. This one is now down in a negative there, which encourages moisture to come from the northwest. And you saw it on our weather maps. Let's just go back to this, how it's pouring in from there and coming down into the south when we've got weather systems to tap into that moisture and turn it into wet weather. So that one dries up pretty soon and the monsoon takes over for summer. Another couple of little things to look at. SAM, the Southern Annular Mode, that tells us whether we're likely to get troughs and lows to turn that moisture into rain, or whether they're likely to be cold fronts. And this dipping down here, that's our front. That's why Tasmania have a very cold end to the week. Heading into the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. When I'm giving this presentation in real life, I usually ask for a hands up as to how many people have any idea what I'm talking about here. We usually just get 1 or 2 that have heard of this. This one is important. It's a weird name. It's a weird graph. But it's a pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. Okay, tropics, tropical moisture. When that is around Australia, that helps bring that tropical moisture and feed it down into those weather systems. So we care when it's over in the green zone, which is where it is right now, which is why we can get that flow of moisture coming down into the south. So this tells us that for the next little bit, we have a good connection to tropical moisture. As we're going to the start of November, we move into a suppressed phase where we're not likely to see that connection up into the north. So that's just some ideas about what you can get from our long-range forecasting as well. Okay, I'm going to head back to here, and with all of what I showed you on the website, it's an hour by hour, day by day, what the weather's likely to do. That's great. It's a forecast. We know it's the best data, but how can you actually use that in the day by day things that you need to do? So I'll get Josh to take over here and talk about the notifications, the alerts you can set, and how you can get some real value out of those ones there. Take it away, Josh.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for the forecast. Beautiful. Again, back to Ed's farm and Sam's farm here. I've just put those side by side just as some real world examples. So for the frost risk here, as Jane was mentioning before, it's one good thing to have the best data tracking, but you've got to present it in a way that you can work with it every day and understand it. So this is, for example, one of our alerts that we've got available in our notifications section. So for Ed's farm here, we just quite simply set a frost risk alert. And so this has been generated by aggregating all of that best weather guidance, bringing all of the data from those best weather models in, and then using AI machine learning to read to upload its weather station details at Mulyan and adapt the forecast based on those observations and the aggregation of those weather models. So what that means is this chance of frost between 4 and 6 a.m. on Friday the 25th is a very accurate, a more accurate frost prediction than what you would get if you were relying on, just one weather model or just one weather app or one piece of guidance.
Takes into account not just the temperature, but also what the wind is doing, what the cloud cover is. It's not just is it cold enough, but is it all the right conditions coming together to produce frost on your farm? And just so you know, this is the Cowra, the one that's nearby to Cowra. And also we saw that there's no wet weather coming in the next week, but there is a frost risk because of that cold air that's coming up from Tasmania as we move into Friday and Saturday.
Beautiful. Yeah. If we if there's going to be a chance of severe frost as well, we'll just get a darker blue there indicated in that section. Moving on to the right, we're at Richmond now, and we've generated a spray forecast for Sam's farm. So with the spray forecast, that's one of our advanced variables that takes into account delta T, wind speed, inversions, temperature, rainfall, and cloud cover. Just to give you a very easy, at a glance, decision-making tool as to whether you're spraying, Saturday afternoon or Friday afternoon. Again, in this case, we're also bringing in all of that best weather data. We're aggregating all of those best weather models. Sam doesn't have a weather station on farm. However, he's only 2 kilometres away from the closest official bomb station. So in his profile, he just is using the closest bomb for local observations. And that's great. That's perfect for him because it is only 2K away. It's at the same height. So he gets an accurate forecast based on those observations as well.
Just another example in here. Here's my farm, which is southeast of Melbourne on the Mornington Peninsula. And here's the global weather guidance. And you can see it's all sitting up here through 15, 16 degrees. But our AI forecast knows that at this particular property, this here is what is more likely to happen. Where we are, we're at 300 metres, so we're up on a bit of a hill. The nearest Weather Bureau station is 25 k's away, and it's right in a maritime environment. So there's no real connection to what's happening at our spot and what that nearest weather station is showing. Now that we've brought our weather station observations in, the AI forecast is usually quite different from what those global weather models are saying because it knows that it cools off earlier, it heats up faster, and it's got a much better handle on what happens at that particular site.
To hear more about the project, including some first-hand experience from grower Caitlin Bradford, check out the full webinar recording on the AUSVEG YouTube channel. The Using AI and Machine Learning to Improve Weather Forecasting project is funded by Horn Innovation using the Advanced Production Systems Fund and contributions from the Australian Government under project code AS23005. You've been listening to the Vegalogue podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and give the podcast a rating and review. Vegalogue is produced by AUSVEG, the pig industry body for Australian vegetable growers. You can find more news and information from AUSVEG at ausveg.com.au, on our social media channels, or in Australian Grower magazine. See you next time.